Vinian. Welcome to the stream. I gotta get close, but I was on time. Just barely, but I was on time. So, last time we managed to keep Zack alive, and now we need to deal with Marianne. And her whole life story. And we now have discriminating evidence of Luke. Meaning, I'm going to kill him. Doesn't that sound wonderful? So, why don't we jump right in? In the game window. And here we go. Continue. Right, we were right after what happened.
It was a prayer. Like, oh God, fuck me?
I like it.
Can I just tap him here? No, it was a real prayer. A prayer for forgiveness. Because as I lie down in my bed, while he gets up to leave, I can feel my sins crawling my back like spiders, filling me with their venom. At any point, Metroidvania will start playing and we're fucked. I feel an itch that made me want to scratch my skin until it bleeds, while my heart pounds in my ears. That's called an STD. I can't even register what Whiskey says when he whispers his goodbye.
Thanks for the good time, Marianne.
He said our actual name. He said our real name. We are in trouble. So let me quickly check. So on the 17th, Hannah was having a party with Harvey Lee. And they already knew about who the interior designer will be. On the 18th, we were having the party. Marianne Whiskey went back to her condo after one too many drinks. Despite having the second thoughts, Marianne still slept with a stranger. Before leaving, he thanked her for a good time. Little did she know that I apologize. I am using you, Marianne, to kill a person. Mornings after are always the loneliest, although I can simply brush off. I've already gone through several years of my life with only the fleeting company of otters. Always nothing permanent. After her, there never was. I'll live through this. The regret, though, it's the one that stays in ways. But there's no time for self-pity. I have a job to get ready for. And here we go. It isn't often that I think about drinking on the job, but after meeting with the rights yesterday, it really makes me want to break my self-imposed rules. Because first off, fucking damn Whiskey was fucking damn Mr. Right. And to top it all off, they had somehow forgotten to inform me that they didn't own the Ermengarde mansion yet when they hired me. What sort of person does that?
Rich people.
I could do nothing but twiddle my thumbs at this, however. Twiddle my thumbs and wait for the go signal. It's not like I can accept on a smaller project. This is a big job and I should be ready to start on it at any time. Not to mention that my PA practically begged me to be patient and wait this out. It was a hard decision to agree, but I did so in the end. Besides, I'm doing this for the Ermengarde mansion, not for anything or anyone else. I'd have a headache, whatever I do anyway. I'd go to the pub again, but seeing what happened a few days ago, I'd rather not end up in a bed with another potential client. That's married. And it might be a huge leap in logic, but the library is the next best thing after the pub. I have to go there anyway. I need more books for Dad. Plus I need to return the ones I borrowed last time. Finding a new book or two to read for myself while I have nothing to do isn't such a bad idea either. The Sunday morning, I find myself going to the only library in Luxbourne to hopefully cool off. After returning an Ursula and a poetry book by Henry of Potterbury. I asked the librarian about the several titles on my list, though I don't have much luck on that front. Dialogue with Death has already been snatched, but she bluntly said that she did not keep her mathematical universe for someone who didn't return books on time. I make headway at least when I ask about the siege and rendition of Havana by Jacobo de Pezuela. If you encounter her snarling and pointing at the history section as headway, that is. The history section is devoid of any author except for myself and a redhead. Do I wager a guess that Red's just passing by to get the classical literature section? So many books, so little time. Scanning the books and seeing so many wonderful titles gives me great pleasure. And that's when I spotted.
Hello, sailor. Why don't you come to Mama?
It's not the naval battle book I was looking for, no. It's even better. The newly acquired History of Luxbourne Architecture, first edition too. I know I just have to get it. I have been waiting to get my hands on this book for so long. The fact that there's only one copy proves to be a problem, though, when Red reaches out for it the same time as I do.
I think I had this first, miss.
Well, hello there. I can only stare her down when she refuses to let go of the book. Refusing to let go of it as well, I raised a brow at her in hopes of the fact I was significantly taller than her would intimidate the girl. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work on Rebecca. Even then, she refused with a rebellious look.
This isn't exactly light reading, miss. I mean, do you even know which architect was at the forefront of 18th century Irish architecture?
She's gonna surprise you. Ah, hello, Nightmare. Welcome to the stream. A beat. She blinks, and I can't help the smirk on my face, which is wiped off when she opens her mouth.
Edward Lovett Pierce, who established the Palladian style through his work with Castletown House and the Irish Houses of Parliament. This bridge was destroyed in this year to delay French troops while under the regency of Mary of Guise.
This is not what I was expecting. Let's be honest, how many people would know these history facts? Aside from me, anyway.
Going right to the obscure ones, aren't you? Easy enough. Tullybody Old Bridge in Clackmannanshire, Scotland, on the January of 1560, if we want to be specific.
I got an achievement. Pop quiz meet a fellow nerd. Suddenly it's a game where we throw these history questions and facts at each other, back and forth in hushed tones unless we want to be thrown out of the library. After a while, it goes to some strange competition into this strange but friendly banter, if it could be called that. But as fun as it is, the exchange soon slows down until we're grinning at how odd this whole scene is.
Mariam McCulloch, my desire for potatoes doesn't quite match what the stereotypes suggest.
Rebecca Gales, the Scots' supposed hatred for the English wasn't enough to stop me from teaching their little spawns.
Oh. Interesting. I couldn't tell. By then, we had forgotten our little tug-of-war, although she still holds the book in her hands. I had to let go of it without realizing when she answered my first question.
History teacher, then?
Got it in one.
No wonder you gave me a run for my money. Now, if we're talking about architecture, I'd blow you out of the water. You're from where? Luxbourne Uni?
Oh no, just St. Goretti's.
That's the same where from Kylie is. Ah yes, St. Goretti. You'd think a school would choose a more appropriate saint to name after themselves, especially when they have very young students. Oh, please, give me the rundown on Saint Goretti.
And I'm guessing you're an architect, if you're so confident about the subject.
Interior designer, Miss Gales.
Please, just call me Rebecca. You aren't one of my students, are you?
Marianne, then.
I could have said that I was an architect, but there's no point in explaining why I wasn't one anymore.
So, I've never seen you before. I'd like to think I've met every history aficionado in town.
I blame the rock I've been hiding under, of course. That, and I'm usually only here on the weekdays if time allows. Work often has me meeting clients on the weekends.
That must be interesting work.
It allows for some creative freedom, sure. But it's like working with children sometimes. Though you probably have it harder working with actual children.
Wouldn't you know
The
it?
hardest part is convincing them that your idea is their idea.
That sounds exciting.
It is!
But isn't that true for any workplace, though? We just cross our fingers and hope there aren't any man-children in charge of important things. Any big projects right now? I can't imagine that interior designing is a frequent thing.
I'm working on the Ermengarde mansion. Lucky me. That mansion. Inta. Wonderful. Breathtaking. I can't wait to start in it. Now that is beautiful architecture.
Her expression says otherwise. A pause. It looks like she wants to say something at my mention of the house. I'm not surprised. The place is certainly popular with the locals, especially with the urban legends attached to it. In the next second, though, she seems to think better of it and drops what she's about to say.
So, do you have a portfolio or anything I can take a look at? I'd love to see your designs. Maybe you have some on a tablet? I've met some designers before, and they're always going crazy over these virtual room apps or another.
A tablet? Please. Callicrates didn't need those silly iTabs when he built the Parthenon. I certainly don't need one to design a house.
Ah, so you're a bit more old-fashioned. The computer back at my place is all I have. Why should I buy such an expensive gadget that will just get outdated within the year when what I have is just as functional? Traditional ways had a far more personal touch in my opinion, not to mention those smartphones are awful tools of procrastination. I can't even count on one hand the number of people I see going outside only to have their eyes glued to these things. And fuck touchscreens. They're evil things that make typing what should have been a simple task harder.
I do have an online portfolio if you'd like. I can...
Speaking or think of the devil seems to have summoned it. Because before I can even carry on, Rebecca's attention wanes as she pulls out her mobile. For what I can only assume is a call, she gives me an apologetic look before she standing up and excusing herself. Off farther into the aisle she goes for some privacy. I do my best to give it to her as well, trying to tune her out.
Belle, is something wrong? Lunch at the coffee house? Sure, I can make it. I'm not too far, I can be there in 10.
But with how quiet the surrounding is, she can't blame me if I overheard snippets of her conversation. When she returns with a sheepish look on her face, I know that our friendly chat has to be cut short.
Sorry, I have to go and meet with some friends.
It's fine. Totally fine. No need to even apologize.
About the book.
Her embarrassment increases twofold when she realizes she's still holding on to history of Luxembourg architecture. I don't give her time to think about it, as I put my hand up and shake my head. Fishing out a pen and paper from my bag along with one of my business cards, I hand them over to her.
You know, I'm busy with work, so I might not even be able to take a peek at it anytime soon. You can go ahead and have it. But you'll have to ring me up when you're returning it just so I can snag it right away. Deal?
She makes a quick work, putting her number down and handing it back to me with a grin.
Deal. Just message me during school hours, of course. You have a good day then.
You too.
With Rebecca gone, I'm left alone standing in the history section. Although my original plans were simply to sit down and read a good book, a little pop quiz, if you can call it that, made the time pass without any of us even realizing it. It was fun, and I do believe I made a new friend. Good job, Marianne. Even with the talk of lunch, however, I don't feel like grabbing a bite to eat. There's still other books to be read here, and I'm hoping to find something that will help me while I work with the rights. Something like How to Deal with Arseholes Professionally 101, just in case. I've dealt with a lot of uppity, snooty, and rich clients before, but it's still better to be safe than sorry. Oh, people like Luke? Because Luke Wright just takes the fucking cake. And he probably manages to eat it too. It seems that the world is conspiring to keep me from me time, as my mobile vibrates in my pockets the moment I find something from the shelves of the classic literature section.
Marianne McCullough,
Section?
Charlie Rose Design speaking.
Rose Cooper here, Miss McCullough. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time or anything,
This is weird.
but I just wanted to check in and tell you that we've got the clear to hand over the documents. Madam Wright told us that we should forward the floor plans to you.
Already? How did they go through the process so fast? Surely there are many red tape to even acquire the forms in the transferring of rights? No matter how rich the rights are, it shouldn't be this quick, right?
So, if I can just have your email, I'll be sending them your way.
I'd actually like a physical copy of the floor plans.
Oh, I suppose that's fine. I'm not at the office right now, but I can inform Miss Santos of your request.
I'll make sure to drop by the office after lunch if that's fine.
Not a problem. Right. Well, cheers.
Right. Cheers.
I don't know. I just don't. Is there some sort of deeper miscommunication when we last met? These things take time. It's been, what, a day? Less than that even. There isn't even a point in trying to make sense of these people who seem to be larger than life. Marianne befriended Rebecca Gales during the visit to the library. Marianne received a call from Rose Cooper afterwards, informing her that the Ermengarde Mansion's floor plans were ready for pickup at their office. And that was just after Isabella had the phone call with her parents. And then the Wrights bought the mansion. Okay. But before Isabella had the weird experience. As it looks like on the clock starting today, I might as well eat. Grabbing some fish and chips from one of the street food stalls, I find a table to spend time with a copy of Marquise de Sade Sades? Sounds French. The Crime of Love, since Rebecca left with the book I wanted. I've read this one before, along with the rest of his works. This would be the 18th time, in fact. It's always nice to read through it again, when I don't have time to enjoy something new. Besides, when you're dealing with people so filthy rich, that they just end up plain filthy. You need the good old Marquis sound device.
La blessure se trouvant sans aucune sorte de conséquence.
I was correct. The wound being without any consequence. Of course, it's folly to think that things have no consequence when everything actually does. Our Realty Corporation's Luxburn branch isn't too far from the city center. Just a few blocks away, and I can easily eat and walk. I'd rather use this time to rest before I go into a flurry of activity. No doubt, there'll be so much to do once we get our hands on with the mansion.
Still a lot better than working on another condo, at least.
Surely, no matter how much BRC and the old owners put into restoration and preservation of the place, any big repairs would be superficial at most. I'm quite certain that in their haste to sell their property, they did a rush job. It isn't an infrequent thing to do, despite how it is frowned upon. There'll be a lot of hidden issues that I need to weed out, and I have to make sure I find every single one of them, especially the more serious damages. Structural integrity is definitely on top of the list we will have to consider. The building might look sturdy, but it's centuries old. That alone will likely pose a few problems here and there, but limitations on what we can do. Besides, despite how much I detest these rich snobs, we can pay rather handsomely, as long as I do an excellent job and do more than necessary. Those two things always made sure the referrals keep coming. I don't even have to hunt down the project for myself. When I do go up to BRC's office, I can't help but stop and stare when I enter the building. With the lunch hour closing, employees should have been back already. They still aren't filtering through the doors. I get that it's Saturday, that people probably feel tired and lazy to be working on a weekend. But they're still on the clock, and not bothering about wasting company time on extended lunch breaks and cigarette sessions. The office is spacious. As it is with these big corporations, each person is given their little space of what's usually 2 by 2 meter cubicle. There's a lot more empty chairs than there are actual people working on their desks. 2 by 2? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It reminds me far too much of my last day on Portscova projects, during the massive layoffs due to the Irish economic crisis. But it isn't just that, though. Everything is as quiet as a grave. It's as if these people were merely ghosts. Speaking of ghosts, Santos comes in through the door, looking as if she's just seen one. She looks at me, wide-eyed, like a deer caught in the headlights, ready to bolt at any moment. I'd ask out of concern, but I feel it's not my position to do so. What if it's something personal? I'd simply be overstepping my boundaries. Really, it's none of my
I
business.
presume that Miss Cooper told you why I'm here, Miss Santos?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just got back from lunch, you know? But it won't take too long. Don't worry.
Of course it won't. This whole project has established itself to be a matter done in haste. I do hope it doesn't mean that people are being careless in their duties.
She flinches and looks like she doesn't quite know how to respond to that. Thankfully, instead of opening her mouth, she leads the way towards her station and goes to fetch the floor plans. It won't take too long, as she said, but it does take a bit. Time spent to compose herself, most likely.
You know, we usually just email these things.
I prefer the real thing.
Not that you would know. You probably have your nose stuck in front of a smartphone when you're not working, and even when you should be working, playing those mindless, addictive games. I do not like Marianne's toad here. I definitely wish Chris would stop playing that Batcat thingy during work hours too.
I know what you mean. Digital painting is nice, but nothing beats the smell of real paint. Not that I go and smell paint like a crazy person, but, you know, the real thing is different.
Wait, what?
Yes, nothing is quite like the real thing.
Marianne, you assume way too much of people. That is extremely rude and completely opposite of Hannah, surprisingly. Checking out the floor plans, I see that I'll have a lot going for me. Now I know how Ray felt when he found the Central Park West building floor plans from the one movie. This is why I became an architect in the first place. Check the end, style at its finest. It's a thing of beauty. Look at those gorgeous rooms, the delicate harmony between empty spaces. And speaking of empty spaces, there's something rather odd about these ones. Is there? Let's take a closer closer look, because we actually haven't seen the floor plans before, so we can get an idea how everything is set up. So on the right, from the foyer, the right we have the parlor and the minibar, the restrooms, and the music room. Above that is a hall that leads to the basement. We don't... There's no floor plan to the basement. Unless the hall itself is just stairways to the basement. But it doesn't indicate a stairs. So that doesn't make sense, unless the ground is uneven. We have a garden. Right behind the ballroom. We have a hall with quarters. Probably for the servants. And right next to it is the gallery, the dining hall, and the cellar. Sorry, the kitchen with a wine cellar with a tiny print. And if we go to the second floor, we have two hallways with the bedrooms, probably for the guest ones. The master bedroom. The bedroom has the study room, and the master bedroom has quarters again. Probably for Johan's. There are stairs to somewhere. To the attic on both sides. We have a conference room and a theater. And two attics. And if I remember correctly, it was the right attic where Isabella went.
I feel a bit silly saying it out loud because I've never lived in a big house, let alone a mansion. But during the tour, I had the distinct impression that the rooms were bigger.
Maybe they're not in 1-on-1.
Maybe the scale is wrong? It's not much of a problem. And it is an old house.
Yeah, we don't see a scale anywhere, so it could be. There have been little details here and there that I would have to like to address during the open house too. Also, did I just say it's 1-on-1? Who would have a floor plan with the size of the actual mansion itself? But still, yeah, it could be the scale. It was all forgotten in the wake of Miss Santos' incident and the trouble with ownership. The wine cellar is going to be a problem. I shudder to think that what sort of repairs did it to the place? There might have been things that were swept under the rug, pushed to the dark corners of the rooms, hidden away in barrels. What damage could have been covered up? There have been floods due to heavy rains in West England just last year, after all. And if there's been any sort of damage to the house's foundation, that's going to be a lot of work. I was not able to look at the attic as well. For all I know, the whole family of vermin could have made their nest here. Working with pest control is always the worst. I just don't mind them just having a nice little family. A little bit of a noble family sipping from tiny teacups, those rats. The sheer size of this place is staggering. Even if I did just say it was a lot smaller than I thought. I might just be biting off more than I chew, but who doesn't like a good challenge? First things first, I'll have to...
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous. And even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance at being distracted. Seeing the girl? Yeah, the young woman though. It looks like she has a lot on her mind. If babbling is a way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. So I'm starting to understand how Marianne behaves, and thanks to this, now I understand why she reacted how she did with the cat. You have something to say? I give her time to speak up, but when she just stares, I clear my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
As embarrassment creeps upon her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
I didn't expect to hear such questions from her, seeing how well she handled herself yesterday. I didn't doubt then why she was assigned to an important sale at Ermengarde Mansion, despite the little accident she had. Now, she just looks too young, too nervous and unsure of herself, although her enthusiasm must make up for that in spades. In fact, I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself the way she is at the moment. Why, watching her now, she actually looks like she should still be in college. Acts a bit like it too, when I think about it. I thought she was a teen slumming it out in the mansion when I first saw her there, lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turned out to be one of the estate agents handling the property.
Clients usually support artists of their own choice.
Right, she saw us being knocked out.
If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet, here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Marianne, you're being quite rough on her. Maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek, and it looks like she's barely holding herself
Someone
back.
had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I barely even hear it. But the hurt is there. And it makes one wonder what brought it on. Although it is understandable, if her reason's what I think it is, very few people make it get big in the art world. I can see why she's upset about it. With that enthusiasm, I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment. The recession and the toll it took on the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being at art school or something else. But the world isn't a fair place. The sooner she accepts it, the better. Still, with that forlorn look on her face, I can't help but sigh. The girl reminds me too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Do you want to go with those fun paint, adventures with Ash? I'm kidding.
I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about.
Well, Maria, not everyone can be stinking rich like you are with your job. Especially when Isabella's here taking care of her dad, while binging on noodles because she can't afford to eat. You are judging the person without knowing them.
If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
She barely can afford to eat, Marianne.
It's not that simple.
It's not. Life's simple. People just like to make it complex.
That's not what you said about having the fun with Luke, now did you?
Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid.
Go up, kid. You have the piece of fun so younger you.
Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable. then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Would you have left me alone?
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained ear settles in the room afterwards. And my relationship with Marianne just went down. Marianne visited BRC to pick up the floor plans. She was assisted by Isabella Santos, and the two shared a brief talk about art, which ended with Marianne leaving the piece of advice with Isabella. You still have time to redeem yourself, Marianne. You still have time for it. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave, as she has said, lingering awkwardly by the door with a downcast expression. It's clear that there's more she means to say, perhaps even defend herself and her choices in life. Was she expecting me to dish out more of that advice? It's an awkward affair, and I choose to hightail out of the office as quick as I can. You might have gotten away from Isabella's rage. But I know what you said. Though I'm able to keep myself professional at all times does not mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realize it, I choose to head back to my flat instead, despite today being Saturday. No fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing Whiskey in the near unforeseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Monday couldn't come any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before the last, I spent most of the Sunday drawing up the plans and calling in my supplier. Although no design choices have been made, I'm quite sure that they'd want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did these rich times, based from experience at least. Given how badly the whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself, make sure I'm not playing with the gloves as one of the other tenants takes the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm saved from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The Wrights lived at the very top, the penthouse. The creme of the creme when it comes to the condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks, just to secure a key card. Not only because of the building management, but because of Wright's personal security. Sometimes I felt like I'm being interrogated for a crime, and not visiting a client at their home. Even when their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil, the elevator door opens and I'm greeted by none other than the Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security, and only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
You're doing it despite him. He shows me to this couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself from what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes. Or even 10. I sit in their living room just waiting. And when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then there's a crash. I nearly spill the tea all over my lap in surprise and look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix the breakfast as like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he looks far too absorbed in his cooking. I don't want to plead the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was, although I'm not normally this noisy. Marion? You've been a bit rude to Isabel. So you're going to be nosy if that leads you to a problem. That's going to be your problem, not mine. The grass came far away and I really shouldn't be snooping about, but it's just a concern, concern that urges me to check it out. Sneaking at a glance at the butler, I consider sneaking off, but
Excuse me, but where's the loo?
he barely looks my way before pointing a spatula towards the hallway. It's a good excuse as any, and if I'm caught lingering longer than I should, I could just excuse myself and say that I wasn't sure which door led to where. Here we go. Still looking at the hallway reveals nothing. I don't see anything that might have caused the crash. The hallway, like the rest of the place, is in pristine condition. There are several doors for not only the toilet but also, presumably, rooms for their butler and other members of the staff. As I stand there, however, something feels definitely out of place. One of the doors, nearest within my reach, stands ajar, and from inside a light flickers incessantly. It could simply be a light bulb that needs replacing. The thought of it in a place so well taken care of seems off. I think that maybe this is where the crash came from. Inside I can spy a radio lying on the floor. That's probably it, right? Maybe one of the help in a hurry to get out of the room knocked it over in the process. If that's all it is, I really should leave it alone. As I turn to leave, the sound of static fills the air and man's tinny voice interrupts the silence.
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th-year dead.
Why am I still standing here?
To have fallen from her dormitory window.
This seems familiar, doesn't it?
Authorities are investigating the possibility of foul play.
Like I've heard it before.
Reporting from St. Samthins, Shane McLaughlin of Galway AM.
Ah, that sent chills down my spice. Spice? Spine! Ah, that was a good scare. I recoil, backing away from whatever that was. In the process, I trip backwards on my feet and wait for the pain of falling flat on my back. But instead, I feel a hand on my back and I feel a smug smile of, well, guess who?
Oh, don't tell me you're reporting to work drunk, Mint.
God. Of course, I knew exactly who that voice belongs to. It just happened to be him.
McCullough, hammered on the job? That would be something.
What? As if I had been burned, I pushed him away from me with a deep scowl on my face. Marion visits Wright's penthouse to discuss with the couple. While waiting for them, Marion decides to investigate a violent crash as she heard. In the hallway there was something odd. Even his lightest touch makes me sick, and that swag smile on his face makes me want to come in contact with him, if only to break his nose with my fist. Atta girl.
Is that any way to say hello to a good friend?
We aren't friends. Let's get that straight first off, Mr. Wright. Secondly, you're a married man, so that thing that happened shouldn't have happened.
Oh, come on. Don't tell me it wasn't even a little fun. A bit of a romp never hurt anybody.
Oh, Hannah would disagree on that.
No, it wasn't fun, and we shouldn't have done it. But since we did, let's pretend it didn't happen and never speak of it again.
But only because they're our client. After that, we can totally mad at them.
I was drunk and had no self-control. Don't I get a free pass?
I do not care, even if you were held at fucking gunpoint, Luke. You don't get a free pass. You only get the death pass. Meaning you're going to die for your sins. That is no excuse. I'm going to ruin this relationship and I do not care. Restraint and patience are necessary things when dealing with people, and I must have a whole lot of it, considering I'm not tearing him a new hole. I can't believe this guy. I didn't see any inkling of shame or guilt about the fact that he cheated on his wife.
No, you don't get a free pass. How can you even say that with such a straight face? You do realize what you've done, don't you? Even if you were drunk, the fact of the matter is, you had at one point taken off your wedding ring and knowingly cheated on your missus.
Indeed.
I am quite sure you didn't have one and you blatantly told me you were single when you chatted me up at the bar.
And you're the saint then? But according to you, I was drunk. So you must have taken advantage of me in my state. I fail to see why I'm the only one to blame in this situation.
I didn't think things could get any more preposterous. But apparently
We
I
were
was wrong.
both drunk, you bastard. Don't you dare try to twist this around.
Okay. Changing my opinion, as much as I like Marianne's serious tone, I need her alive. So we can mangle Luke to get her.
You don't know who you're messing with.
I'm afraid you're the one who doesn't know who you're messing with, lassie. I know who you are, Marianne McCullough. I've looked into you, you bloody bog jumper. You're nothing but a glorified turf cutter.
I see, Luke. That means you are going to die. Congratulations. I have absolutely no reason to keep you alive anymore. 3 strikes. And that was the 3rd.
I'd be careful with how I speak if I were you. What's that saying about biting the hand that pays you? It goes something like that.
He looked into me? How much does he know about me then? Does he know about my father? Does he know about her? The thought of that he has knowledge can hang over my head kills any fight I have. Instead I feel sick. This is sick. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's sick in the head one way or another. The dead air between us, because it can't be anything else but that, is broken as a lively voice calls out from the loft. When he spoke, Marianne accidentally bumped into Luke right. Furious over his blatant dishonesty during the first encounter, she warned him not to mention what happened that night. Luke simply ignored her.
Marianne! I hope I haven't kept you waiting too long. I know we agreed we'd start at 10 o'clock, but mornings just simply do not agree with me. Not one bit. It's been like this since I've been in university.
It's been 5 minutes to 7 o'clock. These high-end clients sure like to be fashionably late. I'm used to it, though. Much like how I'm used to many years of hearing people mispronounce my name. Besides, berating or correcting my client would be extremely impolite, and Marianne doesn't sound too bad when she says it. To be fair, it doesn't seem like she's late on purpose.
I see you're up, darling. You know, you could have woken me up as well. Were you showing Marianne around? Not that there's much to see. This place is so tiny compared to the mansion.
I'm more worried about the way she stares at me, judging. Such a look. It doesn't suit her pretty face at all. To see Mrs. Wright reminds me too much of her. And maybe I'm starting to hear her again. See her again when I shouldn't. I should have left that all behind, forgotten it. To think she would be looking at me that way, I can just feel my hands tremble.
Oh, yes, just showing her around and getting to know each other. Isn't that right, Marianne?
Yes, of course. And your butler was making breakfast a while ago. So if you want to get right to that.
Breakfast would be lovely.
There's no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it is too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be terribly rude to deny their invitation. That looks delicious. I want some. Besides, the pancakes did look and smell heavenly. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrup, jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making a colorful arrangement. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself the whole lot. But as it is, I just accepted a few pieces of the pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar.
Well, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables?
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs, and whatever handles those sorts of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners. Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
True.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blend in with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past do not have us this involved.
I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't the time or place for it, however. Instead, I used this brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought
We'll
with
have
me.
to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
The quarries? Or the bathroom?
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts. Used, apparently, for the ladies-in-waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde, which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion, but do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
Wait, you know Kylie? Huh. Well, it's a small place.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in.
What got you so angry about Rochelle? Especially for the accusations that she did towards you?
We don't need a children's room. And you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You don't need 2 of them. There's already 1 study
You
room.
can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theater. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea. By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
Right next to the kitchen? That would be a horrible decision.
Before, you can park your cars outside.
What about that room, right there, in the northwest corner?
The basement? No, northwest corner, the Quarties.
That's sleeping quarters for the household help?
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxspawn to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms! I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless.
You wouldn't if you knew what kind of a sleazy bastard he is.
He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too and I'd dance and it was just...
Mr. Wright playing the piano? I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Mrs. Wright said so told otherwise.
Hey, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theatre, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
I honestly think it does. Well, he's not getting a lot of the interior stuff, he's getting a lot of the exterior stuff. Honestly, I think it sounds fair. Luke down, Hannah up. Mrs. Wright has her point, though I really didn't want to butt in the spat of a husband and a wife. But with the way you were looking at me to settle this, I might as well just keep the facts instead of giving up
Mr.
opinion.
White, your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land to park on already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly?
She's good with math.
Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager?
There we go.
I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough cost of these things by now, love. Masters in Business Administration, major in accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
Indeed. As dumb as I initially thought Hannah to be, she's much smarter than she lets out. That catches my attention more than anything. It sounds more unbelievable than Whiskey playing the piano. I wish Whiskey was a cat instead. Like an actual cat playing the piano, named Whiskey. Not that thing. She really didn't seem like the type.
Business administration and accounting? What university?
Luxspawn U, of course. Go Lux Dragons, red and gold.
Excuse me, how about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know. We
Fine.
might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Mansion arrangements were discussed over breakfast. During the meeting, the Wright couple had an argument about the mansion's arrangements. In the end, they decided to visit Will. They decided to visit Will settle it. Okay. Riding the Ermengarde mansion in their rise is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about scuffing the expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple's spat. With the tension thick in the air, I can feel them staring at each other at any time. Nobody's saying anything. Up until Mr. Wright tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. And for a moment, I think that he might start. But instead he just stays quiet, and so do the rest of us. In the end, the insufferable silence stays. I've never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car and up to the mansion meant the end of an uncomfortable ride, and I can finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me gaze in wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand. I can already hear Mr. Wright
Right
plotting.
here, Hans. We're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Well, you are not driving a car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Someday I'd like to ask how Johannes can even stand and tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just quit? Certainly the pay can't be that good. I've been put off. I'm a bit off. Why is this so difficult? Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and the only thing that keeps me from feeling is the fact that we've already signed a contract. At least, I'll be working with them during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday, I'd ask, I feel a bit bad for him. If it's any consolation, he'll be away with Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This wretched, strange sunlight that is far too alien and rare. There'd been a bit of a problem, with the missus not knowing which key was which. The first item on the agenda would be a grand staircase. It seemed sturdy during the open house, but a close inspection might say otherwise. There are no obvious marks of damage nor wear and tear, and probably retreaded during the renovations. Peeking under the grand carpet, the wood is probably installed with the bark placed down to prevent cupping. The carpet itself could use a vacuum, though. Structural conditions, from what I can see, actually dismantling the thing, looks to be in a good shape, and the handrails and supports posts are firm. The work on it should be commended. I can't look much more at the rest of the floor, however, because Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
Man didn't look too pleased at this. There's a look of disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves to speak, I dread another unreasonable demand. Again?
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them, there's a genuine look of fondness there. This is the first time I've seen such an exchange between the two of them. If anyone were able to see them like this, there's a little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course. And I want a garden full of them. Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs if anybody needs me.
That leaves Mrs. Wright and I.
I'm quite fond of them, you know.
Clearly.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name. He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who liked flowers. Daffodils, least of all. What's next? Am I going to find that Mr. Wright saves kittens from burning buildings? As if.
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her here, I'm left standing to stare at the walls. Really? I don't need to do it through our expansion of the building itself. It isn't really a part of the interior designer's job. But the architect in me is committed to doing this task with every project. If I'm going to make a living space that both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam around the dining hall to check things off my punch list, if you will. When it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would be somewhere around here on the ground floor, and I really didn't want to be alone with whiskey. I have to look through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I can do it later when he's gone. I can go upstairs first if I want to. Let's check the first floor. It's safer that way. I've already seen enough of the floor during the open house. Of course, I know that's just a convenient excuse. I just want to be in the same room as Whiskey anytime soon. So I might as well just go upstairs first. Banisters off the grand staircase landing are solid and at a proper height. Any lower and they would be in trouble. There's a small catch on the carpet though. But as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until it gets fixed, things should be alright. Which is the reason why Isabel tripped. And the stained glass? Art. Restored, no doubt, the image of the last lady and the Lord of Ermengarde. What was supposed to be until Lady Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. By a witch of all things, from what I have read. You'd think that historians will place a lot more scrutinizing filtering out stuff like that. I'm amazed they bothered with it, instead of replacing it with some generic cookie-cutter design. The entire piece alone would have cost roughly 500, even £1,000,000. Lady Charlotte's Ermengarde and her beloved, looking at the mosaic of... I'm not gonna finish that sentence. It's not too far-fetched of the imagination to believe that the depicted images could be Mr. and Mrs. Wright. Can be easily assumed as such if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark, but what can I do about it? Walking into the East Wing, I try to go to into the theater, but is met with an obstacle. An obstacle that is blocked doors. 2 doors? 2, and both of them are locked. I'd be frustrated. Would be if I hadn't already snuck off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Miss Cooper before taking a peek. With what Mr. Wright wanted, we'd have to install a powerful projector, the type they use in cinemas, and a projection screen. The seats would have to be reupholstered if they were to be any comfortable, and the walls would have to be covered in dark material, paint, wallpaper, or install wall-to-wall carpeting. Really, of all the rooms I could be jealous of, it's this one. I could just picture myself in there watching old kung fu flicks on a weekend-long marathon. Makes me wonder what kind of movies Mrs. Wright would like. Rom-coms, perhaps? Her husband, on the other hand, I'd rather not think about it. In the middle of my notation and planning, I don't even realize that I'm not alone. I'm caught standing in the front of a locked door like a fool.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but the key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber when she grows quiet and glanced out the window. Out towards the vast expanse that surrounded what would be their house, their home. Then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers, yellow flowers, daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers and the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Why did I imagine that daffodils are white? I guess I don't know my flowers.
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
As I say this, her eyes roll over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have to hold back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes, it must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
I mean not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
Huh? She lifts her hand and points at her wedding ring before it falls listlessly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke. There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him.
A necessary step.
Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether. France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America. The possibilities would have been endless.
I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
The key word is try, of course. Think of the past brings up too many ghosts. Memories of her. And I do wonder what would change if I said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she'd still be with me. Why don't you decide on your own? Relationship down. Her worries seem simple enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be as difficult as she makes it out to be,
Why
right?
don't you decide on your own?
I made nothing against Mr. Wright, of course. The whiskey buggered me to no end. By law, she would be the owner of the house. Well, unless they signed a joint property ownership anyway. Which is a rare thing, as far as I know, especially among these highbrow types. Sure, they could actually love their spouse, but I doubt the possibility. But money is money, and it makes people do the most horrible things sometimes.
It's your house. You can paint the whole place pink if you want, and there's not much he can do.
Somber expression had changed to a look of
I
contempt.
could, but we are husband and wife. Equal partners in marriage, Marianne, though I can see that you don't understand. This is his home as much as it is mine. I'm not going to go behind his back over a room.
Fair?
And how dare you suggest that?
If you only knew about him, you wouldn't be his wife. How do I even talk her down without causing further offense? It's in my attempt to shake down my own drama that I end up tripping right into theirs. Because really, I have no business meddling in the affairs of my clients unless it involved interior design or architecture. Yet here I am, opening my mouth and yapping. I do hate to see a good woman
That's
down.
not what I meant by it. I just mean that maybe you don't have to get the approval of your husband all the time. Or well, okay, fine. I know nothing about married life, Mrs. Wright. You're right about that. But I still think you're allowed your indulgences every now and then.
Of course, my form of indulgence meant buying an old slate 78 RPM country records. Records which I don't even dare to use with my gramophone. For her, it could have been very well buying entire
That's
houses.
my take on it. A perfect relationship is as rare as hen's teeth. You got what you got. I mean, you're doing well enough without my advice. Sure, look it.
That looks to placate her somewhat. She looks away and starts to favor the view outside, once more with a faraway look in her
Feel
eyes.
free to look around the rest of the house. Everything but the theatre should be open. Just call if there's need of me.
Of course, Mrs. Wright.
I really shouldn't have opened my big mouth in the first place. This sort of thing only gets me in trouble. I'm sorry, but if I get a chance to badmouth whiskey, I will do it. Keep it clean, keep it simple, let's stick to business, that's it. Be professional, but I fail to do that because of a pretty face. When she turns to leave, she glances back at me before disappearing into the foyer. I look out the window from where she was standing, and I move on, along with nothing but my thoughts and her.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Thought the old biddy would never leave.
It's utter madness. This hearing things? I reckon it's a stress, but I don't know exactly what I'm stressed about. If meeting Mrs. Wright really threw me for a loop, I'd be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'd call a doctor. But hopefully it's not that. Not right here, and not right now. I mean, it could just be a personal talking cricket. The conscious, so to speak, and I'm only noticing now. What it is, it isn't very helpful. Pushing the dilemma of voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But I can barely make it a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown off my feet and the rest of the world just follows. Though my feet stay firmly on the ground, and even if I stay mostly upright, I feel like I've been heaved and put off balance. I have to close my eyes in hopes of willing the sudden sense of vertigo away, but when I open them, well, I don't feel any less sick because of the sight that greets me. Blood dripped on walls and ceiling, falling downwards and seeping into the curtains and carpet. A wave of nausea, stronger than the last, hits me along with the overpowering stench of blood and gore. I want to bolt. The rational part of my head is telling me to flee. And I would have gladly done so if only I didn't hear her.
I'm here, Marianne. Come on. I have something to show you.
I could have ignored it. Would have ignored it if I only heard it in my head. But I swear that this time it's coming from one of the rooms, much further in the study. If I feel compelled to pay attention, I can just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I don't even think as I follow the sound of her voice. Lorraine. Thick as thieves, what is forbidden is the most tempting. Lovely Amanda Lorraine. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. She was my friend, the only one that I had at St. Samson. I was a scholar at the charity case in a school for privileged and prestigious young girls. They all looked down at me if they cared to look at me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her.
Stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve.
I can see they're using the Irish way of writing things. I would not know how to... I would not think that would pronounce as Maeve.
Why I gotta teach that butterface a lesson?
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Lorraine was there when I needed her, though my highs and lows. Having her as a friend made being in a strange school, away from my father, all the more tolerable. She saw this poor, helpless girl who was kept down and shunned by everyone else, and being a kind soul that she was, she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something
I'll
else.
keep all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again. You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corner of my mind, where dangerous thoughts lurked, I thought that she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she was just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I had been too selfish to return the
You
favor.
have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean.
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry. It's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her. Maybe it'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marianne. Lots of tumblers.
Because when I told her that she loved me, I couldn't admit I felt the same way. Not to her, and not even to myself. It was wrong. I was thought that way. Husband and wife, one man and a woman. Unclean, impure. She's in denial. I prayed for her and I, for our sins and for salvation. I wanted to apologize for disregarding her feelings so callously. It must have been like a slap to the face for her. But life had gotten in the way. Exams, which were trivial in hindsight now, took a top priority. I had to keep my grades up to keep my scholarship. For my father. I told myself I would apologize to her when those were over, that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It had been easy when she avoided me like the plague. She was upset. I get that. I thought I had the time to make things right, but
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead. Assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
they told us that it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hook and I kicked the bucket, didn't she?
Remember me?
Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though she didn't say which, Lorraine.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I didn't know how long I'd been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Lorraine smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then, I feel bile rise up in my throat as her clean image wipes into how she looked when she had found her dead, lying the cold, hard ground. Good Saint Dufna, a great wonder worker in every affliction of mind and body, help me. I do apologize if I pronounce these names wrong. Irish is difficult. I'm seeing things, hearing things. Am I going completely insane? Looking everywhere but at her, I hope and pray that it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that I can just leave.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead.
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
My breathing quickens, and I can feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
So sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me.
I can't take it because she's right. It was my fault. The least I can do is look at what I've done. Lorraine, broken and bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. And a natural smile stretches across her face. I can only see malice in it. Well, this is quick. Then she lunges as the mirror ripples around her form, the glass parting like the water surface to her. She grips my shoulders. I can feel her nails stick deep, sharp even through the fabric of my clothes. Apologies spilled through my lips as tears cloud my vision. That was very close. But I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. Tear grips and threatens to choke me. I endure, I escape, and without turning back, I stumble back out. In my panic, I don't even care to look where I'm going. With one hand on the wall to steady me, I just hobble as fast as I can away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet. I'm free from the madness, it seems. It's from running up the hallway reveals to be in a pristine condition. That means I've turned my back on Lorraine. Again. I have no plans of stopping, not until I know I'm safe. And if that means I'm walking back to Luxborn, as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs a hold of me, however. Fingers digging deep into my shoulder, and my heart nearly stops. Please don't be whiskey. My body seizes that I nearly screamed.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but...
I know what you mean.
Did something happen? Are you alright?
Mrs. Wright,
Without thinking, I sought comfort, seeing that it wasn't her. It's a sudden, impulsive thing to do, and had I been in a better condition, I wouldn't even dare to doing such thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Though I know I shouldn't, her warmth, her scent, they grounded me. She's intoxicating.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
The tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realizes I am no longer in danger. I wanted to cry, scream about what I'd seen, but like a scared child, I couldn't control myself. My mind couldn't reconcile what I had seen. I should write it off as a figment of my imagination, but I can still feel her nails cutting into my skin.
Sick. Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then. Come on, don't worry, I have you.
A lie, but a whole less complicated than telling her I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of dread eases off, I feel nothing but shame for my actions. I quickly back away as I clear my throat and nod my
I think
thanks.
I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
It seems to placate her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden away under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it. That worry. The look on my face must have been a strange enough sight as it is. Sight on its own. Even I am still reeling from whatever that was. Her voice still whispers in my ear. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne? Shaking my head up the dots, I drag in a breath, then follow shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past is long gone, only memories now. And those things can no longer be... And those are things I can no longer bring back. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we're only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wright's cars and the stars above us. Inside of the house, I compose myself for much more than several minutes of being alone, as I did. Just a moment. high contrast. My eyes aren't happy about it. Okay. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars. Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It is a crunch of grass under my heels that brings their attention to me.
Time, what took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
It almost did.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job? I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing what I had seen there, or rather, what I thought I saw there, because there was just no way. Not to mention how I acted towards Mrs. Wright, for goodness sake. I should feel the latest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when promiscuous woman enters the haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down, make excuses, say I'm not up for the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father, to pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down, but for some obstinate reason, I can't. In the same manner I haven't let go of her. I regret the regret that has shadowed me since that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled up around her forehead. It's something I've terribly missed. Now that it's here, almost within arm's reach, my father would tell me, sometimes you just simply have to go through with it. Consequences be damned. Well, I really don't have any logical reason to say no. At least, not something a client like Bryce would want to hear from a professional designer.
Certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Hearing her voice again sends a chill running down my back. I can't wait for this day to be over. From the mansion and through Anselm, I rode with them in silence. Okay, so to check at this is the day when Isabella learned about the weird things with the laptops. And we had the entire day with them. Marion examined the first floor upon arrival at the mansion. After small talk with Hannah Wright, Marion headed for the study. There she saw ghosts of her past reflected in the mirror. Despite that, she gave her word that she would see through the project until the end. But as soon as we hit city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them good night. Would it be best if I didn't stay too long in a confined space with either Mrs. or Mr. Wright? Both seemed to cause serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without second thought. Would have, shouldn't have, won't. I assure you them that my place isn't far off, and I have to fight off the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even my own home, the peace is elusive, as is sleep, as I lie awake thinking of what I saw at the mansion. Of who I saw. If I so much hear a single whisper from her, if so much as I see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad. But none of that happens. It makes me feel hollow. For 2 nights I had trouble sleeping, but it's only one morning when the fatigue has already let me rest that I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. In my restless dreams, I see that mirror. The one in the study. And in it, I see her. I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. Do I need to, I'll do it just in case. Maxwell, please cover the lower area. Hannah and Lorraine. Anna's the left one because she doesn't have the earpiece. Sorry, the hairpiece.
Oh, pathetic Marianne. Work, work, work. She'll work herself to death. See? She doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk among themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues. Or rather to themselves, 2 heads, 1 body. A horrible mockery of these women, as if they were one and the same.
What's the pity? Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it. Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say a person has a hard time telling it when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with the obvious implications that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distress.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead. Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak into each other's ears, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them as clear as day. The whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig into my head like tiny maggots, worming their way into my skull. It is only then that they take notice of my presence. Eyes turn towards me and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie? Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite. Unless you ask, that is. Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl. I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
Now one of you's dead. I'm not expecting that.
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself. Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
My breath hitches and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop me, screeching. A mirror that holds them cracks, lines spouting across its surface.
Do not lie. We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looked like they would lunge, I wake, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find a certain fluff ball sitting on my chest looking as pleased as Punch. No! Look at her! She's the overlady of the cats, the queen of despair and destruction of nice furniture. But I can't stay mad at Her Majesty, because it feels like she did something good at this time. Also, I can remove Maxwell. There. See the whole cat. At her glory. I was having a nightmare, but I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall if a terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthio. Who's the good kitty? Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr comes from the sweet deer before she jumps off the bed and trots towards the kitchen. Imagine if the cats just slowly stared at me, had a slasher smile and said, "Feed me, mutter." On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches, and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving in to the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start their move, despite that. Rich people like them always find a way to get what they want after
I'll
all.
be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party. But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans. Most of the time. Too bad I have to work with humans. She's become the crazy cat lady. The place is already busy as soon as I get here. The foreman, one that I recommended to the rights for his work ethic, is early as usual. Already he's instructing men here and there with the bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to them as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful, and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
Let me quickly see. Surprisingly, Marianne is good friends with Isabella, despite the cold behavior at the place. Doesn't like anyone else. Slightly more Rebecca than everyone else, and my god, look at Luke.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest. He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops, looking up the upper landing where Mr. Wright comes through with two other movers and the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it.
Excuse me, I'm going to go throw up. I'm just kidding.
If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there. Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
Movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see our reflection in the bloody thing. And I look away, not wishing to risk anything. If I see Lorraine's image in the mirror now, I wouldn't know what to do. I don't have the luxury of privacy right now. I'm not going to break down in front of all these people. Mrs. Wright only shakes her head and laughs at her husband's antics as they take the mirror out of here. He's back and at it again, suited up, pointing the man here and there. I'd say he's the man with the plan, but it sort of intervenes with the layout and design that we agreed upon before. I'm about to point it out, but...
It's better you let him realize his mistakes on his own, rather than tell him of them. That way you do not get blamed for his actions. It is more fun, too, to tell him, how does they say it? I told you so, once he slips up.
Johannes, you have the right idea.
Been working with him long enough to know that, huh?
It's not like I plan to make too much of a fuss, unless he changes what is actual crucial.
It happens often enough, when one is made to accompany him nearly all hours of the day.
Up, higher! Come on now!
Still, you could at least be less pushy about
Careful
things.
now!
I remember this scene.
I know your pictures are framed by cheap plastic, but those are framed by African Blackwood and are one-of-a-kind commissioned paintings. Each one is easily worth a lifetime of what you lot make.
It is surprising how hands-on he is compared to my usual clientele. Well, both of them are actually. It is refreshing to have them participate despite their initial reluctance.
Luke, do the dishwashers go into the kitchen or the butler's pantry?
Pantry, Buttercup. Careful, that's Emma No, you there, put that down. You do not manhandle a Napoleon Abueva.
He really needs to tone down the dramatics a notch. Mrs. Rice and the butler look like they're used to it by now. But the rest of us, well,
Sweetie, why don't we go and sort your suits upstairs? Let Johannes and Marianne and the foreman deal with the rest of the work.
We have this, Mrs. Wright.
Yes, please do go before a blood vessel bursts. Bloodstains are so troublesome to clean.
there's an obvious sense of relief as Mr. Wright is dragged out of the room, leaving the movers to do their work in peace. Some grumblings even comes from some of the younger workers. It's a good thing the family butler isn't some blindly loyal tool to his boss, or there will be trouble with Mr. Wright.
He is such a bratwurst. Whiny baby who never got enough hugs from his mutter.
Okay. Mutter means mutter. A bratwurst is a certain type of sausage, and I quite love bratwurst. It's delicious.
Probably lost in translation, and not that I'm condoning talking about someone else behind their back, but I think you meant to call Mr. Wright a horrible brat.
Well, he is that too. There are a lot of things I can call him, but I mean to say that he is a big weenie.
That would be correct. The bratwurst is a sausage type of it.
A childish name for a childish person. Like a child, he whines when he doesn't get what he wants, and he breaks the toys that he has.
That gets a laugh from me, as well as a few of the movers who linger near. He and I carry boxes, instruct the movers where they should be, and generally taking over Mr. Wright's work. It goes without a hitch, and the man is helpful, efficient, and capable with physical labor, despite his clean-cut appearance. A gentleman to boot, taking boxes from me when he sees me struggling with them. Speaking of
One
boxes,
of the boxes for the kitchen is missing. Has anyone seen it? The one with the pots and the knives.
The bratwurst had it brought upstairs, thinking it was for the attic.
Why would he... Oh, never mind. I'll go get it.
why would bring a pot of pots and knives to the attic? The man is ridiculous. There's probably no point in making sense of what he does if he does them just because he can. At least it turns out I don't have to make it all the way to the attic. The mover, probably on Mr. Wright's orders, left the box on the stairs.
It's not that heavy.
I managed to hoist it up without too much effort. By the time it takes for me to do that is long enough for me to overhear an odd conversation. I could never in my life imagine coming from a couple like the Wrights.
If you're not careful, I might go a bit loopy and I'll start bringing cats home. And soon enough, one day you'll find yourself going home to a farm just filled with felines that follow you everywhere.
Oh, don't bluff. The things would shred up your precious furniture. Besides, you don't even like cats.
True. Dogs are infinitely superior, of course.
But what about the wet dog smell? The mess. I'm not cleaning up after a mutt, no matter how cute. If you think about it, a cat would be better.
For once, I have to agree with Whiskey on this one, though I can live with Mrs. Wright's being a dog person. But as amusing as this criticism might get, I really should be caught eavesdropping or slacking off on the job. At most, I should be looking at the ways possibly soundproofing certain rooms, perhaps bringing it up if they don't realize the lack of it. I really shouldn't. And down went down. I really shouldn't. I usually don't care for private affairs of my clients, as I consider if I should lurk a little longer, I'd miss what else was said. Oh, I know the topic has somehow moved on to pets to children. Listen to Luke and Hannah's private conversation. As I said, I shouldn't have done that, but I couldn't resist.
I'm being serious.
It's not something you take the piss out of. Having a kid is a big responsibility, Hannah. We've talked about this, haven't we? I'm not ready to be a parent. I'd probably end up killing a little brat by the week's end.
The regret sinks in fast. Like I could just keep myself and my own business like I usually do, of all the times to be curious. Lorraine, bless her soul, once told me that there are 3 things I shouldn't do unless I want to be a shit list of the social elites. First, don't mess with their livelihood. Whether business to meet them and keeps them rich is something they need to protect. But it's a multi-million company or some sort of state secret, they keep that close to their chest. Businesses challenge legal matter and moral issues aside, unless they profited from a criminal conduct, it's best to steer away and avoid being their competition. Second, don't mess with their affairs, especially the married sort. It's messy business, just even gossip about it. Oh, but we're gonna mess with it so bad. And worse, to actually be the other woman, I'm towing the line with this rule as it is Picasso whiskey. And the third thing...
Of all the times to be as sharp as a beach ball and as slow as a sloth, Marianne.
Well, the third thing really is true for anyone. Really, don't mess with your family. Of course, she used the word mess up quite loosely. And I think I'm doing the falls under the multiple definitions it could take. Listening to this, something so undoubtedly private is a great way to get in trouble. Okay. I need to reason. Why am I eavesdropping? Why am I being so nosy? I'm trying to get her in trouble due to Isabel. That's it.
Don't finish that sentence, Hana. Just don't. We know how this discussion ends. Let's not fight over what ifs and if onlys.
But what if we are going to have a family, Luke? What then?
I just told you. No what ifs.
We won't talk about it until you're ready.
Let's not talk about it then. Ever.
I walk away as fast as I can while still carrying the box until I'm good distance away from the foyer. Even risk my neck, taking the steps down 2 steps at a time before quickly handing off the kitchenware to
You
Johannes.
really shouldn't run down those stairs. You might slip and break your neck. And that isn't a pretty way to go.
True.
Keep that in mind, thanks. Wouldn't want anything to happen to my pretty neck. Why do you think I wear a scarf?
Because they're comfortable? Other than that, they're still serious choking hazards. You might be wearing your own noose.
Dark?
Cut the morbid stuff and let's get these things where they belong.
My kitchen, my rules. If you have somewhere else to go, which I'm sure you have, you may leave the area to me.
Well, I still have to check a few things there, if you don't mind.
How many times do you need to check every room? Are you sure you're not just looking for this secret recipe of my Kirby soup? Because I'll have you know, it is all in my head.
Okay, I do not recognize that word. The soup is most likely a type of a soup. But other than that, I do not recognize what that could be. If anyone in the chat happens to know what that is, do tell me. Kirby soup. Oh.
I like to be thorough with my work. I'm sure you understand.
He shrugs as we enter the kitchen. The box is quickly placed into one of the countertops as he sets to work quietly. Occasionally he would ask me to take one thing or another and place it on someplace else, but for the most part, I'm left thinking what I just heard. The talk of children, Mrs. Wright insisting of getting that room. Would it be? No, she doesn't look it, but of course, it could be too early to show. And if she does Whiskey know? It really didn't sound like it. What do I care, though? Well, aside from the fact that I may be working with a pregnant woman who'll have a baby in the near future, this place isn't exactly up to modern safety standards. Oh, don't worry. You're imagining things. The slightest possibility that might be the case only makes me worry. I'll have to do a better job than what I usually do. The movers work efficiently even when they're left alone. They do quick work of their responsibilities. The foreman comes, standing in the doorway to consult me on this or that, and I have to go help out every now and then. But they pretty much have everything up to standards. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all is well as the butler gets up, beating up the leftover bubble and squeak from the breakfast, and makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely as simple in comparison to what he serves to the right, but well done
That
nonetheless.
smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts, as they are,
If
preoccupy
there are
me.
any left. One can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them. Even my husband. And he's American.
I really do hate getting up and close personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It's obvious to me that I've gotten my priorities all wrong, but I can't help but think what I heard, what I learned about the right couple. These things have a way creeping up on a person, thoughts, ideas. Whether they are fact or fiction, they creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in a way that twists. I hear giggling, delighted and mocking. They creep up and... The sensation of fingers ghosting briefly my arm caused me to freeze and hiss. I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder.
Oh God, it's Whiskey. Yes, we did.
It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
But it's just Whiskey.
Again. Ever.
I don't like being scared, though I don't believe in the likes of spooks. Being startled is not on the top of the list of things Marianne liked. Lucky for him, I have nothing within my reach, or I would have gotten a friendly terms with something like a rolling pin.
That reaction? Are you really scared? Has Johans been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people. Isn't that right, Brother Gurium?
The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion in his face to begin with since I started working for Wright, aside from vague amusement. There must have been something there, though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. The expression of Mr. Wright's look is almost cruel. When neither of them spoke, even as Johans leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
Now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children.
Oh, you're going to regret those words.
Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
Oh, they will.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief, actually, if those rumors of this place being haunted is true. That just means I'm not going bonkers, and Luke would die. Hearing, let alone seeing, a dead person isn't exactly the symptoms of a healthy mind. Sure, it means there would be such things such as ghouls and goblins. At least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there would be actually a dead girl walking around.
Excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright. You haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, yet I notice a man stiffens at the question. As the question leaves my mouth. I would have noticed it if I wasn't watching his reaction intently. But in his eyes, I see something dangerous.
Depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted? Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
I would.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really. Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johans and he'll have security handle it. But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange, but yeah, the whole I see dead people thing isn't going to go over well.
That I know of. But I'll inform Johans immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anyone suspicious, and you report it. Immediately.
He's suspecting Zachary.
I think that goes without saying.
The concern he has talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogance must return, if a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he has at the ready never comes to, as voices from the dining hall ring out.
Nah, I just freelance mostly, for magazines, newspapers, and events. So
fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do. At least not all the time.
That would be magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such a kind and cheery fashion, no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. It sounds like it's working on the photographer, too. Hearing them, though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least, if his small scowl is anything to go by. Is he jealous? I'm not going to ask if he's alright. He doesn't deserve it. I'm in the mood.
You're not going to go out there and join Mrs. Wright?
It has dropped to 0. I have done it. I am happy. Now I will make sure that I will not bother Hannah anymore. I'd hate to make her dislike me more.
You're starting to look strange. If you want your picture taken so badly, I'm sure the photographer would oblige.
What is it that you want to do then?
Film. Documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on this thing, actually.
We need to get you away from the butler. You're starting to sound like him. No, I'm not joining Hana for an interior design magazine photo. What am I, a piece of furniture?
Yes!
Look, did a lot of you have anything else crucial to do today? Marianne.
There are still some little things to do. It isn't the end of the day yet.
Yes, but you're paid hourly, aren't you? Per day? Really, I don't care. You and the others can just take off for the day.
Why is he dismissing us early all of a sudden? Is this about the possibility of security threat? To my question get him all wary and paranoid that he would just send the workers and I away. I realize that threats are actual concerns for these rich and powerful people. Imagine, whether anyone wants it or not, they get a few enemies here and just... Oh, but he's the one laying the threats. But I'm sure the foreman and his works can be trusted and are no threat. Or at least I trust the people I'm working with. I understand if he doesn't. He doesn't know them from the can of paint. Still, would it be safer if there were people around who could watch their
You're
back?
the boss. My being paid by the day aside, I won't be held responsible for any significant delay caused by your decisions. I'll try to get around that, of course, but I'll just remind you of the fact.
Whatever, take forever with the house. I don't give a bloody damn. Don't you worry, you're still getting your money. Just sod off, go crawl around a pub and find yourself a good lay.
Oof. Paranoid, aggravated as he might be, this conversation certainly didn't have to warrant that sort of
Maybe
remark.
I will.
Walking out of the kitchen, I just accept the fact that whatever he says will go a while under his roof. Right, and the photographer is still too busy in the conversation to notice me, even as I make my way through the dining hall. Besides, I didn't want to ruin their fun.
Well, it wasn't really a big thing. People didn't like Blue Fonzie very much.
People don't like a film about colors. I suppose they would have liked Blue Bibby a lot more.
Going to the foyer has me stumble upon the family butler once more, who raises a brow at my presence.
And where are you off to in a hurry, Miss McCulloch? The foreman is looking for you.
The Bratwurst wants us off the clock. He's dismissing us early because of... Oh, I don't know. He just wants us out of here.
I'll go and call a cab for you then. It would be for the best that you leave when he asks you to.
Indeed. I don't doubt it. My ride back home, back to the city doesn't take long to get here. So let me check. 25th was when Isabel went to ask for help, and they had their nice meal, but nothing else. This was when they were talking about the baby, and they talked with Zach. To keep the mind off things that haunt her, Mary and McCullough focused on assisting the Wrights during their move-in. Later that afternoon, she was seen chatting with Luke Wright, who then demanded she and the rest of the crew take an early leave. Give me a second. There it is. Granted, there were some difficulties at first because the driver didn't know where the Ermengarde mansion is. He tried to have us hand over the GPS coordinates from our smartphones, or some other technobabble I didn't care about, and the butler didn't understand. But as soon as we told him that the haunted mansion over the Ansem village, he knew just the place. I finally headed over, albeit with some hesitation. All the way back to the city, the driver keeps complaining about the place giving him the willies. It gives me willies too. I would love to snap at him. But as soon as the thought occurs to me, another blossoms in the forefront of my mind. One that somehow bothered me greatly, wanting my expiration over whiskey and this project, or wanting all of it to stop. There's been no Lorraine whispering over my ears today. Worse for myself, I find myself searching for it, searching for her. I'm not starting to speak Irish. If I had someone who knows how to speak Irish here, I would tell her to do it. But I unfortunately do not. So I'm just going to pretend that means damn it, or something along the lines. Loose ends? Fucking bloody loose ends everywhere. I thought I'd already moved past this years ago, and it does nothing to help me to curb my frustration. If anything, it only ensures that I want a stiff drink. And where else do I go to drink? Tuesdays are for karaoke, and Wednesdays, improv. Usually it's these four guys who did hilarious schemes. The one with the Irish drinking songs are always a crowd favorite. Do I love a good laugh? A stand-up comedy isn't my thing. And without Cam and Haruna or any other distractions, I end up drinking a lot more this time. And when there are several bottles of beer in me, I get really, really embarrassing.
Hey! G! Psst! G, come over here. I need you for something.
It's a good thing that the bartender is a nice fellow. I'd probably have been kicked out of the other places by now, or worse. If push comes to shove, all he would do is give me an easy smile and shake off his head, even when he's attending to other customers. Just like now.
Give me a moment, will ya? I gotta go check on her.
He's some Asian guy. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him here before a couple of times. Although he never talks to anyone else except G. The girls used to be all over him, too. But he's always turned them away. Oh no, I recognize that voice.
I'll be here. You go do that before she falls over.
Okay, wait. Okay, first of all, I didn't know Ash was really that Asian. So this is where he's been hiding. But that voice actor of the bartender sounds a lot like the officer Boomer.
All right. What is it?
He speaks exactly the same. Do you have a second job, officer?
Do you need someone to help you get home?
Bartender, pour the wine.
I think that's enough alcohol for you, little missy. I'm cutting you off.
A whine comes from the back of my throat as he pulls my bottle away. I have no hope of getting them back once they're behind the counter. Even in my drunken mind, I don't dare to hop over it for them. Because what little sense they have left knows I'd sooner take a floor time than succeed in wresting a bottle from a sober man. Yes. But that doesn't stop me from trying to reach out with my arms like a stupid idiot anyway. He smiles and shakes his head, just like I know he would if we were going back to the other guy.
Right now, where were we? How you holding up, boy?
With no drink and no one really to chat with, I would have gone home or gone to sleep on the bar right here and then. Not really to stand up and try to trek back home just yet.
Same old. I'm still on the Luxborn firm case.
Those blokes they talk about being in dark suits, whisking people into the night or some shit and all that. Didn't the media call it some ridiculous name in the morning news?
What is it this time? Wait, don't answer that. They've called it a lot of things. As long as people don't start running around claiming they're the Illuminati.
Indeed.
So, what have you got for me this time, G? Anything good?
Slow down there. You haven't even told me what sort of deal in Dosh we got. Who are you looking into this time?
The talk would have interested me. Would have kept my attention if I gave a damn. But in my current state, I can barely give two fucks about these things going around me. All these words are just buzzing, barely surfacing from the sea of sounds that is the pub. I would have stayed that way, perhaps even drowned, if I didn't hear his name.
Right. You know the guy. And don't pretend like you don't, G. It takes a special kind of ignorant not to know who he is.
That smug blonde who likes throwing round his money. He was just here a few days ago, as a matter of fact. Great tipper, if you think him just dumping a wad of cash on the counter after having too much whiskey counts as tipping. Why are you asking? He dirty?
You have no idea, G. He's probably the worst sort you can imagine.
Oh yes he is. Luke fucking right. Fucking whiskey. Even without him around, I still hearing about the guy. What the absolute fuck? Despite this, I find myself getting up and sauntering over the joint before I pipe up.
Is this smack talk about Luke fucking right I'm hearing, eh?
Private conversation here, lady.
There's only amusement on G's face. Asian guy? He starts to look ticked off as hell.
Don't worry, Holmes, she's clean. And she might be able to help you with your, predicament.
Course. A drunk's just stumbled through here with what I need. Get real, G. No offense, lady, but you're smashed.
I know, right? Nothing beats being drunk after a hard day's work. Especially when you're working for Mr. Luke Wright.
So, she works for the guy? Doesn't that make her, I don't know, suspect?
See, have a little faith in me, why don't ya? I don't have much, and you might as well have something to go off. You're the one who was so desperate to come running to me for business.
This is gonna get fun.
Yoo-hoo! Still right here, fellas. 5 feet 11. Can't miss me. Unlike Shorty over here. What's with that mad look? You want to dance, boy? You don't look like you can bust a groove. Maybe a leg, but with that fancy coat of yours.
To add insult to injury, I move directly behind him and use the top of his head as an armrest. When he shakes me off, I flop into the seat right next to him.
Don't try me. You can hardly stay on your feet. We don't want to ruin your fancy coat, do we?
Ah, children, the both of ya. But you're still standing after all that, are ya? Matt, you see this giantess? She's a legendary regular here. Been treated like there's no tomorrow. I'm a bit jealous. Can't do that anymore or my liver will give out on me.
Yeah, he really is the same guy. Is he lying about his job?
Good with the mic, too. Don't see you much recently, but I guess you're always busy, aren't you? You're some fancy designer or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait, I know you. You were at the open house for the mansion.
Yeah, that's right. Marianne McCulloch. I'm a famous interior designer extraordinaire. Ooh, that rhymes. Anyway, you guys were talking about that weenie Luke Wright, right?
Or something. Can't really talk about it. I don't even know if I can trust you, even if G said you're clean. But anything would be of help.
Well, I don't gossip about my clients, if that's all there is to this.
You wanted to gossip about him a few minutes ago, Marianne.
True.
And that was the beer talking, not Marianne.
You won't mind if we ask the beer a few questions then?
Oh boy, we switched from mint to beer.
Maybe. Depends on who's asking and what they're asking. How dare that sleazy wanker treat me like I'm a piece of furniture?
And by wanker, you mean Luke Wright.
Yes, Luke Wright. I just said that. He's Kultona Kranthe. Completely different from his pretty wife. And Annie? Hannah? Anna! I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing something dirty behind her back. Even bought him a mansion. Lucky bastard.
So it was the wife who bought the place.
Are you going to repeat everything I say?
Don't mind that, Marianne. He saw it snake.
Yes, it was the pretty one. The one with the long hair. She bought the place. Sort of.
With how drunk you are, I don't even know if you're aware or sure of what you're saying.
Excuse you? I am at least 350,000% sure that I know what I am saying. I am a professional. I'm totally sure of what I'm saying. Do you think just because I'm drunk I don't remember facts? I remember everything. I remember every little thing as if it only happened yesterday. I bet you don't remember young McGurn's full name. Of course you don't. Here we go. John William, pure mad, mental inte, Yoda body, Simpson Clay, Gimel Chip, the Bam, Rib Racker, no real, young rebel, ya best Saint John McGurn.
John! That's the name!
See? I have a photographic memory. Or read memory. I don't remember which is which.
Back to the wanker. Nothing off about him or anything? Nothing shady that sets the alarm bells in your head?
Alarm bells? Nothing ringing. Maybe someone's mobile is. I'm getting tired. Do I have to press my cheek against the gold countertop with my eyes shut tight? Eventually cracking when I open, just in case they thought I fell asleep. I grin at Holmes.
Aside from being a sleazy piece of shit, he did get all in a tizzy whenever something about security came up.
Makes sense. I don't blame the guy. Place that big, you'll need a couple dozen people stationed around if you want to make sure nobody you don't want gets in. And the guy seems like the type that doesn't like too many people.
Oh, but he does like the ladies. I don't think his mommy hugged him enough or anything.
These are serious questions, Marianne. Lives might just be at stake here.
What do you expect? She's smashed.
Why am I even doing this? This is getting me nowhere, G. She's not a reliable source. The chief, let alone the courts, aren't going to take the word of a drunk. This'll be dismissed, and I might be in trouble if they try to argue that I coerced a testimony out of her. This is a fucking train wreck.
You're a fucking train wreck now, if you ask me. Maybe it's about time you apply the brakes and stop for a bit.
The wave of despair that comes over the both of them is palpable. If the feelings had a taste, it better pittered than the beer I'm full of. It gets me thinking, though thinking doesn't get me far with too much shite in my system.
You know that's not an option. Thanks for being patient, McCullough. Good luck with your work on that mansion.
Speaking of that mansion, there's something going on in that place. Something. As ocht day! No wonder Mr. Right likes it so much. It's as fishy as he is. Rotten bloke. Maybe that Santos girl is really onto something, eh? Suspicious shite, I'm telling you. Explains why she's so reluctant.
What do you mean that Santos girl is onto something?
Well, someone got caught off guard. Before I get another word out, his hands on my shoulders and everything starts to spin. I quickly slap his hand away the best I can and send him to the finest look I can muster.
Take your hands off me, pipsqueak. I'm not a lady who's shaken or stirred unless you want me upchucking on your pretty hair. But it's just like I said. Are you sure you aren't brain damaged or deaf? Santos girl from VRC showed us this creepy letter. You know, just like those spam stuff you get in your emails. And we thought it was some joke or that the girl was just a bit too green to handle a big sale like that. You should have seen the look on their faces when they saw it. Whiskey, that's Luke fucking right, you get me? And the missus didn't look too happy either.
Just a second. Okay, that's fine. Probably should double check on that, but I'll do it later.
I should have taken a picture and posted it everywhere. When rich snobs give you that face, no wonder the Santos girl went all mental on us. Working with them does that, you know? I think I'm about to. I'm not mental yet, am I?
Getting there.
Anyway, just like I said, in that man... Hey, you okay? Holmes? You're looking a bit shaky yourself there.
And he really is pale. Paler than before, at least. I can see the gears turning in his head on overtime. Suddenly, he shoves a card in my hand. Looks from Police Department, Ashton Frey, Detective Inspector, CID. On his hand, on it, his name, Ashton Frey, and his number. He has second thoughts as he grabs it from me and slips it into my pocket.
You're cute, pretty boy. But I prefer blondies.
Well, you're not exactly my type either, lady. But listen to me. If something comes up, don't do anything rash. If you think you're in danger or if you see anything suspicious, call me and the authorities as soon as possible. You understand me? That's 99...
I know what the damn emergency number is.
Right, 999. Good.
Guess we're in UK.
Anyway, I have to run. See you, G.
The guy is crooking his feet, already up and at him as soon as the numbers leave his lips. The interior decider once again drank her frustration away at the Crawl Bar. Albeit heavily intoxicated, she was seen chatting with the Ashton Frey, a detective inspector working for the LPD. Luke Wright, abruptly leaving, the detective left her his calling card. I wonder again who's writing this. Watching Lassie maneuvers through the crowd of the other pop-goers is enough to tire me out. Fast as he can, he's at the door and throws us a smile. And that's all we get before he's gone, just like that.
Boy, what about your drink, boy? I'll go put it on your tab then.
Holmes boy always like that, G?
Pretty much. But what about you? I suppose I'll put your drinks on your tab too. Don't want you to spill your wallets when you look like you're close to spilling yourself.
Yeah, and if it's fine by you, I think I'll go take a bit of a cat nap here. Just for a sec or two.
Go right ahead. I'll wake you when I close up shop.
Mumbling a sleepy thanks, I doze off at the spot. Screaming cocktails. In alcohol, there's truth and drunken rambling. Pressed face on the counter. Already, I dread the pain I'll have for sleeping in such position. When you gotta go, you gotta go. Alright, here we go again. Maxwell, cover the boobies.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie? Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite, unless you ask, that is.
Not that I can get much sleep to begin with. Well, that didn't take long. I didn't even need Maxwell for that. It was just a few scenes. Do people ever have feeling that they're working on something they really enjoy, but still it eventually tires them out? Because honestly, I've been feeling like
You
this.
have certainly exceeded expectations, Marianne. Everything looks so marvelous, and in such a short time, too.
Though moments like these make all the hard work worth it. Definitely.
I can't take all the credit. People have certainly been enthusiastic about the idea of working on the Wright mansion. There won't be any more problems unless Mr. Wright has any more objections about the second bedroom.
Oh, no. We proceed with that room as planned. I already agreed to him having his greenhouse and his vineyard and his stables. He may as well let me have this one thing.
We're only about halfway done, but the honest satisfaction on the client's face is enough for me to push through. Let's face it, you can read my exasperation at Mr. Wright's antics and her. I've been burning the candles at both ends. I can't even close my eyes without seeing the dead girl's face. Dead girl. Dead. She's dead. I have to keep reminding myself that, bringing my feelings as deep as if they buried her. Body. 6 feet under. I shouldn't have wasted so much time on someone who's supposed to be gone. I wasted so many years thinking about her already. There should be no need to bother myself with the dead, when I should be bothering myself with the living. Too bad the living are usually complicated, if not more, than ghosts of the past.
Don't you have a party?
Yes. But Luke's just being a sweetie, you see. That friend he's visiting. He's having marital problems and he's just trying to cheer him up.
The world's a small place. It's even more complicated when the living in question is a pair of rich and famous socialites way past their honeymoon phase. And I've been somehow roped into being a relationship counselor.
They've been married for a long time and they've hit a... How do they say it? A rough patch.
Ah, yes, this
His
conversation.
wife has a drinking problem and can be very neglectful. The poor thing really does his best to be a good husband, but it's never enough for her. Sometimes I think it's the years. Maybe it's been so long that they've lost that romantic spark. What do you think?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I need to ask. This is about you and Mr. Wright, isn't it?
Suppose it is. What would you tell me?
Then, I tell you it's none of my business. I tell you that I don't want to meddle, but if the troubled husband with the neglectful wife asked me for my honest opinion, I'd say that he shouldn't base his happiness and his self-worth on someone else. Maybe he should try being independent for a while. See what it's like when he isn't trying to please someone else and doing things for himself. Everyone's supposed to be their own man or woman, right? A bit of breathing room never hurt anyone. We shouldn't let our fear control our lives.
Why she thinks a single woman like me would be the best source of relationship advice is beyond me. Still, I talk and answer to the best of my abilities. Without realizing it, I'm already pouring out the part of me that I had thought were long gone. I'd like to believe my words will be some help to Mrs. Wright. If I'm honest, though, they are of some help to me, like some weight has been taken off my shoulders. Also, I do not wish to jinx this, but it's starting to seem like that cat might be not online today. It's starting to get late. Lorraine!
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party? Oh, you really must, Marianne.
The weight of what happened to her hasn't left me yet, did it? Maybe...
I'll try to stay and chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy, busy, busy.
You must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least.
Indeed.
If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
Maybe it's about time I changed
We'll
that.
see. So, if I can be excused?
Certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive. Because, believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
Saying that I have work left to do is an easy enough excuse to make. I know how other people see me. They see someone so obsessed with her craft that she would so easily miss things like a party for it. Outside the parlor, people hurry about here and there in preparation for the bride's grand housewarming party. None spare me the glance as I slip past them, each working on their appointed roles and not daring to slack off while they work for what is probably the most powerful couple in Luxborn. I make it to the kitchen with ease, the wine cellar being my final destination. But when is a great task ever simple? Probably never. And this is a great task, isn't it? My greatest one yet. That is worthy of being called a quest. I'm not acting as Marianne McCullough, the professional interior designer, when I chose to lie about being too busy for a party. I'm Marianne McCullough, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma. Just thinking of it like that makes it a bit cheesy, but it helps with the fear. It helps overcome the insane thought that I'm actively seeking out something that has been plaguing me for years. I might face my worst nightmare, or I might see nothing and find my self-imagined grand quest fall flat. And who would have thought that the gatekeeper to my final quest would be someone I thought to be a valuable ally?
Schnell! Hurry up, you snails!
Schnell means quickly.
You're on a deadline and you are wasting my time!
The butler comes from the cellar into the kitchen, tailed by a couple of otters, people who I assume are most likely chefs and bartenders. He raises a brow, seeing me just standing there by the hatch by the trapdoor. It almost looks like he's going to throw me out for being in the kitchen without permission. But then, he motions for otters to disperse and familiarize themselves with their surroundings. Meanwhile, he continues to stand there, preventing entry into the darkness
What are
beyond.
you doing here, Fraulein? This is not the place for guests or in an architect right now.
I think you know what that means.
I request you leave.
I was just looking around for any last-minute things, yes?
Yes, you have been doing that a lot. Looking around, snooping about. Now is not the time for such things. If you're not careful, people might think you are up to something.
Indeed. The look he gives me as he says this is almost chilling. If this was a game book, you'd probably be the true neutral warlock guarding the treasure room. A difficult opponent to beat with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in dexterity.
Well, I'm not done yet. I actually need to go into the wine cellar. Just need a quick go at the place. So just don't mind me. I'll be out of your hair soon enough.
Go outside, enjoy the party. Bask in the praise and adulation they will no doubt shower you with when the madam speaks highly of you. Surely you've had enough of this stuffy old kitchen by now. You do not want to cause trouble. Both the Bratwurst and Hannah want this to be perfect. It would be a disservice and disrespect to toe out of line and risk it being anything otherwise. And more importantly, I will be blamed for any failure that happens tonight.
This intervention almost turns me away. Maybe this is a sign I'm not meant to seek Lorraine out, but...
Please, it's really important.
15 minutes. 9, 10 minutes. Any longer and I'll pull you out of there myself. The Bratwurst will be furious if he thinks anyone is touching his precious wine without his permission.
Indeed.
Thank you. This seriously means a lot.
He steps aside begrudgingly. At this point, it looks like there's no turning back. Here we go. The cellar greets me ominously as I descend. The space seems fuller, with a lot more bottles lining the wall compared to before, and knowing what might be waiting for me makes things worse. The mirror that had been moved away from the study is my goal. I did not return to it after my initial discovery, but the thought of Lorraine, how much I did want to see her again even if it's just one more time, keeps coming back to mind. As I walk through the cellar, I have to stomp when I feel something crunch beneath my feet. Whatever few bottles were left behind are now nothing but a glass under my heels. Perhaps dropped by one of the many chefs and bartenders the butler has escorted through here before, and it made a downright mess, with a red slick pooling from the remnants of a good drink. But how dark this place is? A person with a dark enough imagination could easily imagine it for blood. I can't think it is, despite an easy logical explanation that had come to my mind, only because of what I'm about to do. It's a merely momentary distraction as I continue to the end of the cellar where the mirror stands. Propped up in the far wall, it gleams innocently while pretending to be a simple and ordinary mirror. How morbid to think this thing can show a person's their deepest, most desperate desires and then twist it into an image so dark. That's what I seen that day. Though I heard Lorraine many times, I had only seen her within its frame. I wonder if people have discovered it before. How many were wasted away in front of it, enarmored, and how many were frightened away from what they saw. Yet, as I stand before it now, nothing. I can barely see my own reflection in this
How does
darkness.
this even work? Mirror, mirror on the wall? Something? Anything?
Nothing. Touching its surface doesn't make it magically activate or anything like that. There's no sudden surge, and I'm not gaining any sight. It says what it is, a mirror. Was Lorraine's appearance in the mirror all some sort of fever dream? Am I really that burdened with guilt and despair that my mind would eat itself in my stress and have me hallucinate such things? Either way, just going here on some crazed obsession for a girl long gone must have warranted me a trip to a doctor. Already I feel ill. After a few more minutes, in hopes something would change, I turn around to leave. I can just go upstairs like nothing ever happened. Perhaps drop my party from some French word, then go home and collect myself. Besides, Mrs. Wright is expecting me,
Going
and
to
I'm...
leave me again then, are you?
I stop in my tracks, but I don't turn back. As much as pain me, I don't look back. If I'm hearing her again, desperately delusional, and I look back, see nothing, I don't want to give myself false hope. But when I feel fingers around my wrist to pull at me, I look back in shock. My first thought is, how in God's name is this possible? And the second is, Lorraine. Her hands are
Are
cold.
you that mad at me that you're just going to ignore me, Marianne?
I don't know what to say. I can only stare at her in wonder. She stands there in the mirror with only her arm extended outwards for my sake. This is actually interesting. With every other character, they've appeared as a very angered, groaning spirit. With Zack having a Kylie possessed for a minute, and we're just seeing Lorraine. I look at her hand, still holding my wrist, and when she sees me looking at it, she moves it so that our hands are intertwined, fingers weave together. Seeing her there, and feeling her touch meant I'm not crazy, though however impossible and unexplainable this is all to me right now. It just takes my breath away. Pulling her out from there is tempting. I can imagine doing so with ease. We can be together again, Lorraine and Marianne, like nothing had ever happened. But that would be all a great big lie, wouldn't it?
Tack out your tongue. Don't just look at me like that. Say something.
Even if this thing is some kind of magic board that could bring back the dead, that doesn't erase anything. Just looking at her, still a young teenager while I'm already a grown woman, it serves no other reason than to break the illusion that blinds me. I've seen her twice now, always behind a mirror. If this is real, if this isn't some delusion, then why can't she only exist behind the glass?
You have no idea how happy I am to see you. It's been so long.
You don't look happy.
I really am happy, but at the same time, I can't help but think about what happened to you.
And what does that mean? What are you saying?
She gives me this peculiar look, and before my eyes, she moves to step out of the mirror. In turn, I wrench my hand from her and take a step back, almost as if I'm afraid.
I don't know how this is possible, but whatever this is, it isn't real. You can't be real.
I'm right here, aren't I? What other proof do you need?
No, I see you. I hear you. I feel you. But even with all that, you can't be real. You just can't. I saw your body. I helped bury you. You're dead.
A deep hurt crosses her face, and it just breaks my heart in two. Seeing her wear that expression.
Burying me wasn't the only thing you did. Don't you dare lie. But I'm going to be the bigger woman, aren't I? Let bygones be bygones. I'll forgive you. As long as you stay with me, Marianne. That's why you came down here, right? To find me?
That was the plan. I came down here looking for her for closure. And this isn't just closure. This is something else entirely. I didn't think I would be forced to make such a choice. Now, I know how this ends. If I say I want to stay, I will die. I will go into the mirror, and it is the end of Marianne. However, throughout everything that we've been through with Marianne, I think she deserves to live. Closer. That's all I came here for. Whatever this is, it might as well be just a devil's trick. And I might as well make some use of it, right? I say nothing at first, for fear of angering whatever phantom this is. I take Lorraine's hand and bring it up to my lips, raising a kiss to her knuckles. Hey, Cat's online. We're gonna finish this and then go see Cat. She takes it as some sort of invitation to pull me along, to step back into the mirror until only her arm is extended again.
I should have been more honest back then, both to you and myself. I know it's too late. I'm sorry. But
the thought of being dead with the dead did not agree with me, not one bit.
Stay with you.
Goodbye, my first love.
So what? You're going to leave me for some old trophy wife? That's it, isn't it? You're going to leave poor Amy Lorraine and go after the next rich, pretty blonde that you see.
This is a
All
mistake.
these years, guilt has been my driving force. I felt so guilty for what I did, what I didn't do.
She thinks she can guilt me into being complacent, but she realizes otherwise as I pull my hand from her. And going by the look of anger on her face, the anger that runs cold, she did not like the fact that I'm not some puppet on a string. Had she chosen her words carefully, I would have accepted whatever punishment Lorraine chooses to give me. Guilt had run my life, and it might have very well ended it, because I deserved it.
What I did to me. The blood in my hands is mine, not yours.
Whatever this shadow is, my gut tells me that she's not Lorraine. Yet I keep talking as if she
I
is.
broke your heart, not your neck.
Don't you dare deny it! It was your fault!
Because I loved you more than I dared to admit? Yes, that was my fault. But I never meant to hurt you like that.
Despite my words, no matter how insincere they are, she appears angry, enraged in fact. It's been years since I last saw her face, and even now, the memory of it still etched deeply in my mind. The hurts, the tears, the hate spilling from her eyes that day, the moment I rejected her. Rejected myself for who I am, and she definitely will hate what I'm about to do next. To my left, a wine rack, and there I take a bottle and pray to all the saints I can remember, for all my sins, for every hurtful words I've uttered, what I have striven to do that day, what I forced her into.
What are you doing?
I do it without thinking twice. Quickly, before I can hesitate, I grab a bottle and send it straight towards the mirror. Shards of the bottle and the mirror are sent flying everywhere as Lorraine's screams echo into a cellar, bitter, searing, like every wounding accusation she hurled at me. They never left me. I doubt they ever will. But with this, I can move on from her. From her, live my life as I should, free from this burden. Her burden. Because Lorraine I know, the real one, the person I loved, will never want me carrying this to my death. As the screaming dies down, I can't help but to mutter weakly,
It's done. It's done.
mirror, mirror on the wall.
Oh, Lorraine. Forgive me, Lorraine.
I take some time to compose myself, breathing it in and out, stamping down the tremor, still racking my hands, straightening out my jacket and fixing my hair. All a weak attempt to returning myself to someone resembling my normal self. This would probably be the easier to do so with a mirror, but I won't be able to stand looking at one for a long time.
I should probably go back up there. Party to attend, rich socialites to do business with, and food to eat. Mrs. Wright will be happy if I make some time for it anyway.
Yet, one last time, the shattered glass beneath my
Sorry,
face.
Lorraine. May you see God's light on the path.
Turning around to leave, and for good this time, the uneasy smile on my face falls as I see Lorraine, all and well.
Come on, Mac. You really didn't think it would be that easy, did you? You get bonus points for trying, but you should know an 8 in charisma is not enough to turn undead.
She advances towards me, backing me against the wall. I can't even reach for another wine bottle without putting myself within her reach. Despite my earlier bravado, I didn't think she'd be able to exist at all without the mirror. They blame me though. It's not I'm an expert on the supernatural.
What? You shouldn't be.
What? After the mirror? Did you think just moving on will erase what you did to me? You're nothing but a murderer, Marianne. A murderer!
Stay back. You're not real. Leave me alone. Stop. I'm trying to move on with my life, so why won't you let me? Please. Just get out of my head and leave me be.
I try to find the exit when there's a click. The next thing I know, I'm falling back into the darkness. Explore the deepest corners of the mansion. Ooh. Despite the deal with the painful past, Mary McCall excused herself from attending the housewarming party to search for Amy Lorraine within the mansion. Seeing her ghost in the wine cellar, However, a realization hit her and she finally let go. And what's going on here? You'll find out next time. And it's time to go see Cat. Things are getting very interesting. And I can't wait to see how things end up. So, let me just prepare. Raid Cat. Here we go. So, again, thank you for watching. And next time, let's hope we can keep Marianne alive, despite our poor decisions. Bye now.